Hi, Jack. Welcome back to my channel. I've got questions. Well, I won't say questions, but I take my kids to school sometimes some mornings and stuff, and I notice some parents talking about they're having problems with data allowance on their mobile phone devices, and they're saying that they only got it renewed the other day, and it's already run out of data allowance, and can't understand why. So this video is actually going to talk a little bit about the mobile phones and how you can control what's using your data allowance, and it's quite straightforward. It's actually your apps or the automatic updating that can cause problems, and there's also a process on here that's been obviously announced out what to turn off that will stop this from actually eating bandwidth away. Because the other thing with mobile phones, they have updates regularly, especially if you've got apps on them, and if you allow the apps to update when it wants to, so when you're out and about not connected to Wi-Fi, it's going to be downloading the updates. Updates can be anything. If you've got a game, it could be 600 meg. If you've got smaller apps, it could be anything between 30, 50, 60 meg. Games tend to be bigger, and if that's running in the background, that's why all your data is disappearing. If you're using Facebook and you're scrolling through and see a video on the page, it's going to start playing automatically, and that's going to start eating bandwidth. If you're out and about showing people YouTube videos and it's connected to your data allowance on here, that will extremely eat away bandwidth very, very quickly. There's a feature on this as well that actually tends to make it's trying to improve wireless access in your house. So in theory, once you're in range of a Wi-Fi access, this should never disconnect off and run on its own data. But there's a feature in here that allows it to sort of buffer between. So it does lose connection between when you're roaming in the house, you get sort of a dead spot. It switches over to 4G. Then as soon as it finds the spot again, it becomes more stronger, it flips back to Wi-Fi again. So when it's doing that flipping procedure, it's again eating your bandwidth away. There's a feature you can turn it off on here that stops it from doing that, which then allows it to be on Wi-Fi in-house all the time. That way saves bandwidth as well and saves your pocket. So when you go out and about, you have got important data. There's things in your emails here, because there's a fetching process which basically it'll run for updates all the time to your email server. So when it sends like packets backs and forwards, completely constantly talking, and when an email drops into your inbox with the ISP, phone knows about it and then starts downloading. That all happens automatically in the background. That can also cause less battery use, and it can also cause eating your bandwidth away. So especially if you're not actually anywhere near an actual wireless connection at the time, so if you're outside in a bus, it will do that, and again it's eating away your bandwidth. So that's where your bandwidth mostly goes from these devices. So if you don't know how to control it properly and switch them all off, then you're going to be eating away your bandwidth quite quickly, quite regularly, every single month. So let's quickly have a look at the phone. I'll show you a few settings on the iPhone. Can't talk about Android, because I haven't got an Android device, but I can show you on the iPhone what you can do to control that. On the Apple, you've got this, if you go to settings and go to cellular, so you go settings, cellular, there's a thing down the bottom. If you scroll right the way down the bottom here, excuse me, you have a thing called Wi-Fi Assist. Basically what Wi-Fi Assist is, what I just said just earlier, is if you're connected to Wi-Fi and connection in your home and then you get to a dead spot, Wi-Fi Assist actually synchronizes straight over to the 4G network, which is then start using a data allowance. And as soon as it sees the Wi-Fi signal back, it then flips back. So it's sort of stop. In theory, it allows you to think you've still got internet working all the time, especially if you're video streaming something. It doesn't interrupt it and say, sorry, can't connect to the internet. It just streamlines it. You just don't know. This catches me out all the time. So if I'm upstairs in the bedroom watching a YouTube video, I don't realise I'm actually gone onto Wi-Fi because onto the 4G, because it's can't see my wireless for some reason. So probably in my bedroom there's a certain dead spot, and I've eaten my bandwidth allowance away quite easily on that. So you can easily just turn that off, and that basically ignores that then, so it always will look and connect. So if it can't see a Wi-Fi, it'll stay on 4G. If it is on Wi-Fi and it's a good signal, it'll stay on that. It won't switch between. So that's one thing you can save on there. The other thing as well, when you're out and about and stuff, you've got all these app settings as well. So and it's basically under the heading use cellular data for. So the most common one is updating your apps. So if you're out and about and you're actually on your data, you're nowhere near a wireless network, you can say, while I'm using data allowance, the actual network data itself, cellular data, I don't want the App Store access to the App Store, and then you can start turning apps off here that uses the internet all the time and stuff. So I say, while I'm out and about, I don't want Beam to be sending me updates and stuff. I don't want Blab able to use on that as well. And then you can sort of go through the apps to find out which ones, the most common ones. So you can have access to Facebook, which is fine, but if you don't want to use Facebook on your data allowance, then you can turn it off. So when you're out on data, it will say Facebook has been turned off. Won't know how to do that. Same with FaceTime calls, because people can FaceTime you, but they don't always know you're in or out. So that's another bandwidth hungry app. So you can say, if I'm out on 4G, I don't want anybody FaceTiming. So you can flick that off. Simple as that. I'm going to leave mine on. Find the friends, that allows people to find your devices. So if you've got anybody in there, I would leave that on. So that doesn't sort of do too much. It's mainly the big things like game center information, that sort of doesn't need to be on, especially on data. It's going to hog away. Instagram, you may want that on anyway, being out and about. iTunes stores, again, if you purchase music, you don't want it sort of updating or downloading while you're on data. So you can actually say, no, I only want that to be done when I'm at home. Things like mail as well, you've got emails. So if you want emails on the go, leave them on. There's another little feature in the email side you can actually do on this. Then you can just go through Messenger. Do you want people Messenger while you're out and about? So you can say, well, turn that off. You can leave it on or off. There's another one that can actually eat away your data allowance. And photographs as well. Photographs can use data to recognise where they are and stuff like that. Or if you're using iCloud, every time you take a picture, it's going to send it up to your iCloud. So again, it's using data all the time, synchronising. But I'll show you how you can control that through the iCloud itself as well. Snapchat, that uses data allowance. So you're getting, so you can say, well, I don't want Snapchat unless I'm at home. So you can then slide that off. Twitter the same. So these are sort of common programs that will actually sit there and eat away, especially YouTube here as well. If you're YouTubing on the data network, it's going to eat your bandwidth away very, very quickly. So it just gives you an idea. So there's some of the features you can actually use and turn off. So while you're out and about, it's not going to actually hog all your data. So another feature on here as well, if you scroll down and look for the iCloud here, so you've got iCloud here for instance. So on the iCloud here, basically how iCloud works is when you take a snap from your phone, or you're taking several snaps, say you're out and about in town, you're taking lots of pictures of your kids, or at Christmas, especially Christmas time now, and you've got iCloud switched on and you've got it synchronizing with your iCloud, then basically any photographs you take, not necessarily video, only does photographs, it will send those photographs straight up onto the iCloud, which basically means it's using your data allowance all the time. So you can control that. You can say turn it off, and when you get indoors, you can turn it on again. And that way it saves that then when you're on a proper wireless connection, and it's not going to cost you any money, then your photographs will sync up. Then you can access that via your Mac. So that's another one that will generate a lot of, depends how many photographs you take in a day. So you take loads in a particular day, or you spend the whole, so say you're out and about clubbing, or at a party with friends, or a wedding, you're going to be snapping all the time. So that's going to be sending it all the way up, eating away your data allowance. So if you don't have a very big data allowance, you can actually turn this feature off and leave it off if you wanted to. Backups as well, they'll do the same. So this will, depends when you got them scheduled, this will again use data allowance, but you can control this again from under the cellular data settings, or from here you can turn them on and off basically. Now for mail, so if we go to look for the app Mail down here somewhere, there, Mail, Contacts and Calendars. There's a thing called Fetch New Data. It's under push at the moment. So what push does, I've set to manually, but normally by default I think it's on 15 minutes. But push also, Fletch also means, well here it's got like Fletch, push. Fletch basically means it'll send, it always constantly talks to the mail server all the time. So when the mail server says, I've got an email here, whether it's got attachment or not, this phone will say, well, we're going to download it, and it's again using your data allowance. So if you've got a lot of attachments coming in with pictures and photographs from people that send you, then this is happening in the background all the time. It also wastes battery as well, because when you're on a fletching process, it's always constantly trying to keep connected to the data network. If your signal up here drops, then the phone automatically tries to increase the power to bring that signal up to allow this data to come down, which can be a pain in the bum, so you end up eating a lot more battery space away. So on the fletching process or the push process, I tend to sort of turn mine off and leave it off, and then say put it on manual, so that when I want to check emails myself, I can just go on to, it doesn't stop emails from coming in, it just literally means it doesn't call for it when it needs to. And then what you do is then go to your mail app, click on your mail app, then it will then do an automatic manual send and receive for messages for you, and that way you can control when you want your messages to come in on your phone. But if you're a business person and needs the message to be there ASAP, then leave this lot on as is, and it should be fine. But if you guys are a bit more conscious on battery and data allowance, again, turn it off, put it on manual, and then you've got control of when you retrieve those messages down. So there's my little tips for the iPhones. Hopefully that's useful. You may have similar features like this on an Android device. Go through your Android device, do a bit of searching on there to sort of find out how it is. There's a lot of details on the Android device. Is under the settings are quite straightforward. So you can probably just go through. They're normally quite explanatory. If not, have your Android device on your phone in your hand. Get Google up and do what I do, is Google the setting details, and then they'll explain on the line for you. And you can say, yeah, that I don't need, that I don't need, and so forth. Simple as that. But this is just an iPhone cut thing because I've only got an iPhone to show, and this is an iPhone I always use. So I hope this is helpful. If it is, please remember, guys, subscribe, like my videos. And any questions you've got on this, please comment below. If I'm actually wrong on anything I've said today, please do correct me and let me know. Or if you know a tip that I'm not aware of, comment below, let me know about what the tip is, and I'll create a website's almost there, so I can start putting these tips up online for everyone else to share and use as well. So thanks very much for watching, and see you soon on the next one. Cheers.